Okay, good morning. Wow, that was bad. Good morning. There we go. All right, you just came back from a break and everything, so you should be ready to go here. So, as the bishop said, I'm Scott Schulte, the Synod Treasurer, and I'm going to provide my report for this morning, and then we'll move right into presentation of the budget and a vote on that. So, get this to work here. There we go. So in the Treasurer's report, I'm going to review the prior year, so the 2021, talk about how that year turned out for us. I'll then go into what's our proposed budget for next year, and we'll talk through what is that, what are the amounts and the areas that we are allocating funds, and then I'll close with some commentary around the Mission Endowment Fund and talk about that, just to make sure that we all know about the Mission Endowment Fund. And I'll say right now that I'll promise to not throw too many numbers at you, but please realize this is a Treasurer's report, right? So you're going to get some numbers. I'm required, right? So without any further ado, we'll move on to review of 2021 results. So as we started the year, there was uncertainty about what would the response be. We knew that in 2020 we had an excellent year from a giving standpoint. We finished the year with a large surplus, so we weren't sure what was going to happen in 2021. What happened was we didn't see the fantastic year that we had before. Which is not necessarily surprising, because that's kind of our usual pattern. We have a good year or a really good year followed by a not so good year. And I think what's probably a brilliant statement of the obvious, we still were dealing with the pandemic. And so that as you all know, provided uncertainty and an unknown factor to what is going on with all of our congregations and what that means from a giving standpoint. I guess the positive aspect of that is it not only impacts giving, but it also impacts how we spend the funds that the Synod has, and that the pandemic curtailed some of those expenses, as we'll talk about. So, okay, here's some numbers for you. So, our total revenue and support for the year was $1,634,000. This was $58,000 less from what we had expected in our budget, and also what we had received from the previous year. Our total expenditures were $1,634,039, which also was less than what we had budgeted and less than what we had budgeted in the previous year. So as a result, we ended the year with an operating surplus of $440 compared to $143,000. Now, you may laugh at $440, but as I say to the Synod Council all the time, if you ever end the year with a surplus, it's a good thing, right? So $440. And I think an even better story there is that within that spending, we had anticipated or had expected to release about $80,000 of funds from the surplus from the year before to help cover the budget. As a result of the giving and the support we had, we didn't have to release any of those funds. So we not only ended the year with I'll say modest surplus, but we didn't have to rely on any of our temporarily restricted funds to do that, which, again, that's a woohoo for that. Thank you. In congregational support, we received $1,553,000, which was $62,000 less than what we had expected, or what we had received the previous year, so a decrease of 3.9%. So, that's, again, take that in context with again, ending the year with the surplus. But to give you a little bit more of the historical context for that, right, of being receiving $62,000 less than the previous year, let's take a look at the last 20 years, and you'll get a better idea of how this all fits. So, as you can see, we're on a overall a downward trajectory. We had some really steep declines back in 2008, 9, and 10. And also you can see towards the right-hand side of that graph that 2020 we had that large uptick, and then 2021 it dropped back. In fact, a little bit lower than where it was in 2019. So since 2008, we have seen the amount received reduced by about $700,000 in what we are spending in our annual budget. So our giving right now to cover that budget is about 2/3 of what it was back in the peak of 2006. So that gives you some of the kind of historical perspective on that. However, with that, from a congregational support, I still want to say and acknowledge. I want to say thank you to all of our congregations for your continued support in 2021. And I want to say a further thanks to our congregations and our individual donors for your response to the annual appeal, and also any other donations that you've made throughout the year. Thank you for that. A couple of additional items to close out the review of 2021. So our contribution to the churchwide organization, the amount that we share with churchwide, $776,000, almost $777. This was also a decrease because it's a percentage of the amount that we receive from our congregations. In fact, it's 50%. So half of what we receive from our congregations is shared with churchwide. And you can, if you are so inclined, in the budget, the detailed budget that's part of the budget and finance section of the assembly binder will give you a full breakdown and full listing of all the areas that the actual expenses for all the areas of our budget for 2021. So you can take a look at that when you're so inclined. And then a final comment about 2021. Every year we have our books and processes audited by an external firm. We put that on hold in 2020 for the 2019 year. Again, not knowing what giving would be for the year. We were using that as an expense reduction or maybe deferment action, and we took that in early 20. As it turns out, that kind of snowballed in that the accounting firm that we typically work with got behind with not only us, but their other customers that they have, and they also were severely impacted by COVID. And so we are a couple of years behind in completing those audits, although we're in the process of catching up on that. We've finished the 2019 audit, and the 2020 audit is underway. So our plan is to be caught up with those audits by the end of this year. And so my pledge to you is that when those audited financial statements are available, we will post them on the Synod website for anyone to see. If you need a little nighttime reading, you're welcome to peruse those. So, riveting. All right. Let me pivot now to our proposed budget for 2023. So you see it says FYE 2024. What does that mean? So it means fiscal year ending 2024. So just a little detail about the accounting. Our fiscal year runs from February 1st to January 31st of the following year, and that kind of that coincides with churchwide as well. And so our fiscal years actually technically end in January of the following year. So this budget will be our operational budget for almost all of 2023. And then will end in January of 2024. So let's talk about that. So for our budget, how are our Synod ministries funded? And there's 4 different ways basically where these are funded, and we're looking at spending a total of $1,648,779, and it says 2022. That's not right. I just realized that typo a few minutes ago. It's 2023 that we're talking about. So our mission relies primarily on congregations forwarding a portion of their regular offerings to our Synod office as undesignated mission support. Some would call this regular benevolence, right, to the Synod. When these offerings increase or decrease from year to year, the work of the Synod either gets stronger or it gets weaker. And this impacts not only the Synod, but it also impacts the national church, the churchwide, and also globally. In addition to congregation support, individual families and congregations may designate gifts for the Synod Assembly, as we gathered last night and will in the closing worship, and also in response to the annual appeals or other special project needs. And for the 2023 year, we are planning on using some of the surplus that we had planned to use for this year, or last year, but didn't. So we will use about $33,000 of that to help cover our funding needs for 2023. And then to close out our support area, we also receive grants from Churchwide and from other organizations for continued work of the Synod and to help cover our ministries and other activities for the Synod. So we'll receive about $50,000 in grants. And as has been said and is so true, we are church together. As I mentioned, half of our contributions received by the Synod are shared with a church-wide organization. This amount enables mission and ministry to happen beyond our borders, although some of these funds do come back to us, as I just mentioned, in the form of grants that specifically help new ministries and also our campus ministry. Ministry entrusted to the Synod. This area of the budget supports the work of places like Camp Tomashinga and Hollis Renewal Center. These ministries provide outdoor ministry space so our kids and our congregations have places to go for retreat and to get in touch with God's creation. We will support advocacy agencies in both Kansas and Missouri as a part of working ecumenically to voice our concerns or matters important to all corners of the Synod. And I'm guessing that most of you enjoy having a pastor or a PMA to lead you. That's due to the work of the candidacy committee and the PMA team, who have shepherded those interested in ministry along the way. So there's funding for that work, that important work. And to help share in our responsibilities, we will continue a new effort to develop strong, innovative, and transformative leaders. And we have support for that as well. And then various ministries that help develop giving and the stewardship of resources through teams and committees, such as Lutherans Restoring Creation. The stewardship team and the companion synod team occasionally incur expenses to facilitate the work that they do, and so we have some funds to cover those expenses as well. The Ministry of Oversight and Pastoral Care. So this part of the budget includes the salaries and travel expenses of the Synod staff who are there to support and encourage congregations and leaders, to assist during those times of transition and conflict, and to provide guidance and resources for congregations as they are committed to being there, and they are committed to being there in whatever the circumstances. We also support 3 campus pastors working in both Kansas and Missouri to raise up leaders among young adults and to help them grow in their faith. This part of the budget also helps for congregations in transition through the call process so that they can continue to share the good news with their community and also support the bishop's theological convocation so that rostered ministers and PMAs can continue to grow in their callings. Through grants in this part of the budget, the Ministry of ELCA Partnerships, we support the work of Bethany College, Wartburg Seminary, and the Lutheran School of Theology as they raise up and educate leaders. We also support a Lutheran Planned Giving Partnership to help us understand that our giving can help ensure a future for the things that we value. We work with other synods in our region, Region 4, to share as we seek to explore new ways of being church. In 2019, we decided to share office space with the local diocese of the Episcopal Church, which has been a great partnership for us. They have been great partners with us with the space, and the space that they have fulfills the needs of the staff and also provides for a good meeting space when we can get together to meet, when needed for various teams and committees. I encourage you to stop by and drop in on the staff and say howdy, and also take a look at the office space when you can. So this area covers the rent that we pay to the Episcopal diocese, and also the usual costs for running an office like paper and a copier and funding the audits and those kinds of things, all the mundane things that comprise operating an office. As we walk together, we need to support those that lead us by helping them communicate and providing them with tools that they need. The same is true for enabling our congregations to reach outward to those in need of hearing the good news. So the funds in this area, Ministry of Leadership and Outreach, they will support Synod Council meetings and conference and deans gatherings, and also setting aside funds for bishop transitions, because as we know, that there will be bishop transitions at some point, right? So that we need to prepare for those. And so we set aside funds each year to help fund those transitions. And that pretty much covers the 2023 budget. So hopefully that will help in understanding, and that you've had a chance to take a look at either the narrative budget that was in the packet or the more detailed budget, the spreadsheet-style budget that provides a greater breakdown of the areas. So let me pivot now and talk about the Mission Endowment Fund. I'll wait for the curtain to open here. There we go. So, authorized by the 1999 Synod Assembly, one of our predecessor assemblies, the Mission Endowment Fund has been providing financial support for over 20 years for a variety of ministries across the Synod that are not supported, and I want to emphasize this, many of the grants, or actually all the grants that are provided by the Mission Endowment are supporting things that are not covered by the Synod's operating budget. So the minute the Mission Endowment Fund receives planned gifts and bequests from wills, estates, and congregation closures, that principal is invested and produces annual earnings to benefit leadership development in the form of rostered persons continuing their education and sabbatical leave, lay schools of theology, seminarian scholarships, and seminary graduates' debt retirement. The earnings also support outreach in our Synod, including new ministry starts and congregational revitalization. Last year, the Endowment Fund provided grants just over $75,000. And a couple of those recent examples I want to share with you just to kind of highlight the power that these grants can have. So some of the examples I'm going to give you were some of the larger grants that the Endowment Fund has ever provided, but I think you'll see that there is power in that. So one of the examples of a recent grant was for Lutheran Family and Children's Services of Missouri, where they had requested funds to help with a mental health counseling program to make it more affordable to meet the needs of children, youth, individuals, and families. Wow. And that's been a powerful. The grant was a much needed funding source for that ministry. Another example: Sanctuary in the Ordinary in St. Louis, where they are addressing needs by purchasing and rehabbing houses and apartments in distressed neighborhoods in the St. Louis area. Again, another powerful example of how these grants can really have a huge impact on the local ministries and synod-wide ministries that we want to support. So I encourage all rostered leaders, lay leaders, congregations to take advantage of the support that's available from the Mission Endowment Fund. For more information about that, I think we've got a display out in the hallway. But if you need more information, you can go to the Synod website. You can contact the Synod offices, or you can contact me, and I'll be glad to help you with getting connected, getting a request into the endowment committee, so that we can provide grants to help you out as well. So to close here, I want to thank the members of the mission budget team, and their names are listed here. In particular, I want to express my thanks to the first name on the list, is Barbara Beadle, who is our Synod accountant, who is also looking at retiring this year. She said she was going to be around with the firm that she works for until they were through tax season, but as we know, tax season kind of stretches a ways. So she's still with us and supporting it, but at some point she's going to retire, and I want to thank her for all her work. She has been a part of the bookkeeping team since the Synod was formed, and so she knows where the bodies are buried. but also as a tremendous resource and has been extremely helpful for me. But it's been a joy for me and a privilege to work with all of the folks that are listed here, and I want to thank them for their service. Yeah, thank you. And with that, I am done. So I want to thank you for your time and attention. And Bishop, this concludes my report.
Thank you.
And so I'll roll right into the budget. So upon the recommendation of the Synod Council, I submit the budget for the fiscal year ending January 31st, 2024 for approval by the Assembly.
So this budget is coming before you from the Synod Council. It does not need a second. It is now properly on the floor. If you would like to speak to the budget, please remember when you come to the microphones, a green card to speak in favor, a red card to be opposed, a white card if you have a question. I don't see anybody moving to the microphone. So I'm going to ask our chaplain, Jim Peters, if you would take one of the, like the microphone right behind. Is there one behind you? It's hard to see with the lights. So, yes, to do a prayer before we take our vote. Thank you, Pastor Peters.
Thank you, Bishop, and good morning, church. Just a quick reminder that there are a couple of opportunities for to request prayers here at the Assembly. In our prayer room, there are a couple of small whiteboards that you can write prayer requests on, and those will be prayed for throughout the Assembly. Also, just to my left, we have a cross that you can submit prayer requests via the paper leaves that are in the basket at the bottom of the cross. We've been asked to remember in our prayers Craig, who had hoped to be a part of this assembly, but who is now in the process of leaving this world, and for the people of Ukraine. But now let's pray. God, you truly are the God of our salvation, and we give you thanks and praise. We thank you for the health and life of our Synod. Look with love on your church gathered here, and send your Spirit upon us as we vote on this budget. Strengthen us for the challenges that lay ahead for us, but also help us to celebrate the possibilities that are there too. Keep us all safe and well in your care. And we ask this in the name of Christ our Lord. Amen. Amen.
Thank you. Again, you appear ready to vote. Bring out your voting cards. All in favor of the proposed 2023 budget, please raise your green cards. All opposed, your red cards. All abstaining, your white cards. The budget has passed. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.